He was ahead, not by a little bit, but by enough that when the finish line came into view, he decided the work was done. He slowed down, raised his arms, started celebrating while the race was still happening. I couldn't help but to consider that moment, not because of the running, but because of life. Welcome to the Always On Mute podcast, where we know not everyone was born with a mic in their hand or a megaphone in their mouth, but we still have something to say, because quiet is still a voice. Welcome to the Always On Mute podcast. I'm Antonia, and this is where quiet minds speak with intention. If you have been here before, welcome back. Thank you for returning. And if this is your first time here, please consider subscribing so that you do not miss a future episode. All right, so let's get into this. We do this more than we realize. We work hard to get somewhere. We put in the time, the discipline, the consistency, the early mornings, the late nights. We stay laser focused when it would have been easier not to. And then somewhere along the way, we start to feel like we've arrived. Like the position is secure. Like the lead is permanent. Like what we built can now run on autopilot. So we ease up. We pump the brakes. Not dramatically. That's the thing though. Complacency rarely announces itself. It doesn't knock on the door and say, hey, I'm here. I'm here to take everything you earned. Come, baby, come. It shows up quietly. It can look like confidence. It can look like experience. It can sound like, I already know how this goes. And while you're feeling settled, the consistency starts to slip. You stop doing the very thing that got you there in the first place. We have known this lesson since childhood. The tortoise and the hare. The hare gets so far ahead, decides it's time to waste some time and take a nap. And the tortoise just keep going, slow and steady, unimpressed by the scoreboard, and wins. We all heard the story. And then many of us grew up and became the hare anyway. Because the real issue wasn't speed, it was arrogance. The hare looked at the distance between himself and the tortoise and thought, there is no way I can lose now. And that certainty cost him. Back on that course in Delaware, Carson Mello had been running for over 2 hours, 26.2 miles. And with the finish line in sight, he made the same calculation. He looked at the gap between himself and the finish line, right? He looked at the gap between himself and everyone else behind him. And he decided it was already his. Arms up, celebrating. Hey. What he didn't account for was what was happening behind him. Right? Because he didn't look back no more. He's looking ahead and thinking, I got this in the bag. More than 100 feet back, a 24-year-old Joshua Jackson was still running with intention. He wasn't celebrating. He wasn't looking around. He wasn't performing for the crowd. He was still in the race because the race was still on. And that matters. Because sometimes the person who wins is not the loudest person in the moment. Sometimes it's the quiet one. The one nobody is watching. The one not drawing attention. The one not posting every move. The one still working while others are busy being seen. People often confuse visibility with victory. They assume the loudest person is leading. They assume the most noticeable person is strongest. They assume silence means someone is falling behind. Not always. Some wins are built in silence. Some people clap for themselves way too early while someone else is still putting in the work. And many times the quiet person wins for one reason. They never got distracted by needing attention. Now, a man on the sideline saw what was happening. He started yelling, "Get him! Get him!" I mean, it was so loud, like it was captured on everyone's camera. the crowd shifted. The energy changed. People saw what Carson didn't see. And that happens in life too. Sometimes everyone around you can see the shift before you do. There's always someone somewhere willing to stay disciplined, stay consistent, and finish strong. Always. Don't dance before the music. I want to make this personal for a minute. I'm a half marathon runner, kind of, sort of. I ran my fair share. And I say that loosely because, I've done it multiple times. But the first time I ran one, I practically crawled across the finish line. Now, I'm not going to get into the full story, but the reality is I ran my race. I ran it poorly, but nevertheless, I ran my race and I crossed the finish line, right? Whatever I had left was barely enough to get me over the line. It felt less like a finish and more like a collapse in the right direction. I finished, but I didn't finish strong. And I told myself, if I ever ran again, that would not be the ending. And sure enough, the next time I made a decision. I didn't suddenly have more energy. I didn't discover hidden strength. But I decided that whatever gas I had left, all of it was going into the final stretch. Even if the final stretch was only 20 feet, it might have been 20 feet, but those 20 feet looked different. I crossed that line like I meant to be there. And what I learned is this. The finish line doesn't care what happened at mile 9. It doesn't reward who looked best in the middle. It doesn't care who led most of the race. It only meets you where you are at the end. Life is a marathon. But inside every marathon are moments that require a sprint. Moments that ask for courage when you're tired. Moments that ask for effort when you feel empty. Moments that give you no warning and no extra time. Joshua Jackson found that moment at mile 26. After hours of steady effort, he still had enough presence to go when it mattered. He crossed it in 2 hours, 43 minutes, and 12 seconds. Carson crossed 2 seconds later. Same finish line, 2 different mindsets. One man celebrating thought he had it, like it was his, it was over. So as far as he was concerned, he was done. He could have just basically walked across the finish line. On the other hand, one man moving like it wasn't. The tortoise didn't win because the hare was slow. The tortoise won because he never confused almost there with already there. And he never, not once, danced before the music finished. So wherever you are right now, please hear me. Don't ease up on that thing that you have in front of you. Don't let comfort replace discipline. Don't let progress make you casual. Don't let a lead make you crazy. And if you're behind right now, if you feel unseen, if you think the gap is too wide, keep running. You don't know what's happening at their finish line. You don't know how close you really are to your finish line. You don't know what 2 seconds of refusing to stop can change. Use whatever gas you have left, even if it's only enough for the last 20 feet. Finish strong. Thank you for joining me for this episode of Always on Mute. If this resonated with you, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And if you haven't already, subscribe so that you do not miss what's coming next. Also, drop a comment below and tell me, where in your life do you need to stop celebrating early and finish strong? Remember, being quiet doesn't mean you have nothing to say. It means you choose your words with intention. Stay muted, stay mighty. See you next time.